You're watching the Skateboarding Bros Show. Stories from the pioneers of skateboarding about the history and the fun of the sport we love. Hello and welcome to the Skateboarding Bros Show. Tonight we're excited to have a bunch of Hall of Famers as well as a future Hall of Famer, Bruce Whiteside, who's going to be inducted in, well, almost like right after this show comes on. So that's, when is it? It's April 15th? Is that when it is now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to be great. That's going to be down in St. Petersburg at the skate park. There's going to be after parties and everything. So we're trying to work through all the technology and preserve history. And where I'd like to start, because we have so many, I mean, this is going to be a tangential nightmare. We're going to be going all over the place because we got Santa Claus, we got everything.
Hey, we're missing Bruce. He disappeared.
Bruce, come back. So hopefully Bruce can hear us and he joins us again. What I want to do is talk about, you know, when did you guys pick up skateboards? When did St. Pete, when did you meet at each other? When did all this happen? Where did Bruce go?
That's the main question. Where did Bruce
go?
He's probably eating some mullet right now.
Cleo, I think, was the first person to meet Bruce.
Yeah,
So tell us about that.
I'd met John Grigley at Earth and Surf and Skate Park some time ago, and that park closed. And I found out that he had some ramps at his house. So I was taking trips to his house, wasn't that far from mine, riding my skateboard to Grigley's. And one day I cut down the road, I see a guy on a skateboard, and that was Bruce. And I stopped and talked to him. I think he had Hobie X wheels, I think. Hobie X wheels.
He had bonsai trucks.
Were they bonsais?
Yeah.
But I told him about the ramp and told him to come down there, and he followed down a little bit after, and that's kind of how it started, skating with us. But I just happened upon him on my way to John's house.
Well,
So what year was this?
saved his life?
this was 77 or 78, but
Something like 77, late 77 maybe.
I met Cleo at church, and we kind of talked some at skateboarding, and then I ran into Cleo at Earth and Surf and Skate Park, and I would go there, you know, kind of irregularly. Mike Daly was way better than we were even then.
No, you can't say that. All right.
And because, you know, we were younger, and at that point it makes kind of a big difference, the age difference there. But then one day Cleo's like, this is my friend Bruce. He's from Lottie, Florida. And Bruce was kind of country, really. And I had a deck, but I remember the bonsai trucks and those wheels.
Daisy Duke.
He had Daisy Dukes on.
Oh man!
You didn't say that. Yeah, I guess you did. All right, so mark the tape, and then we have a highlight.
They weren't called, and we just had cut off shorts to skate.
But you know, before you know it, that skate park shut down, and we also were hitting Rolling Waves and Clearwater, and occasionally we could find a ride to Rainbow Wave. But all the parks shut down, and I want to say that we were either given a ramp by Earth and Surfing, or we bought one off of them and towed it back to Grigley's house.
My phone out.
Come on back.
So Walt,
We had
that
Earth and
was
Surfing.
Brian, right? Brian and Earth and Surfing.
No, he was at Rolling Wave.
Rolling Waves, Brian Evanson.
We're here for you.
The people at Earth and Surfing were the Andersons, I think was their name. They own Pronto Car
Wash, and later on they turned the place into it was like a pottery place.
Yeah,
Pottery and flowers or something.
and John Grigley was a lot better than us, also.
So how old are you guys in relation to Grigley? I mean,
Grigley's 1 year behind us.
we're about the same age, but I think Mike Daly is a few years older than us.
So,
Yeah, Earth and Surfing was fun. I helped build the place, and then what do you call it? I had 160 hours built up of free skate time. Showed up the first day, and they're like, "Man, you got to get shoes." I was like, "You have to wear shoes to skate?" I was like, I had to figure it out, man.
That's top-ass feet.
Yeah. I gorilla gripped it.
Hey, don't forget, you had that long ponytail.
Oh yeah, I still got it
On his
somewhere.
feet.
Hey,
His
Mike,
ponytail on his feet.
there were this two guys. I want to say they were like they had a tree service or something, and they were like named the Stone
Jays.
Brothers.
Yeah, that was Jay's ramp. What do you call it? Right next to Bogosiega. I spent the 11th grade there.
With no shoes on.
so this is just random around St. Pete. So now
Yeah.
you've got two parks dying, and the whole. How did it become? How did John Grigley's backyard become the destination that it became?
Well,
If any-
we had the ramps set up in there. We had Earth and Surfing's quarter pipe
Yeah, that's what it was.
connected to plywood across the ground up to like a little takeoff ramp. You could do one-liners on it.
Yeah, but
And,
I'd
next
say
to
the
it was
biggest thing
a twisted
Paul
half.
Schmitt found.
When did you guys actually build the half pipe?
This is one of the first half pipes that we
Yeah,
built.
that's the one that when I got there, when I moved to town, that was the one that you guys had. It was when the ramp faced the alleyway.
Yeah, that was. This is in. This picture is in January of '78 or '79.
Okay.
Yeah, just
So I
way
was
that
there
part
in
is-
'80.
can you guys hear me?
Go ahead, Bruce.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ramp was originally in Matt Davies' backyard.
The half
And
pipe.
it's actually
The half
it's
pipe.
the second ramp I rode in St. Pete. And Matt had it in his backyard, and then John's
Matt-
sister bought it for him and moved it to his yard. And it was,
Matt Davies,
as you can imagine,
but Matt's ramp was in the ditch. He didn't have wood framing. It was the shape of the dirt from the ditch. And then he had the backboards.
no. He had a ramp after that was actually a framed ramp. And
Yeah, I
went
remember
there,
that one.
I went there with John and Danny Yost and Vaughn
Did
McIntyre
Matt Davies
and skated it.
have a pub?
Bill is stuck in space, I think. What's going on, Bill?
I went to Lionel.
Yeah, I'm trying to. What was it? Matt Davies that his parents had an Irish pub. I'm trying to remember if that's the
No.
right guy.
No.
Wasn't him.
I went to Lionel Toy World to see Brian Beardsley do a demo, and Matt Davies was there and blew Brian Beardsley away. Other than
Matt
jumping
was-
in the car.
Matt was a good freestyler. And we went to Gainesville, Rolling Waves. Brian took him there, sponsored, and he was doing pretty well against Scroggs. And then he threw a tizzy and quit. He probably could have, I think he could have taken him that day because Matt was very good freestyler.
Didn't he shred Mike Weed at Urgent Surfing?
Yes.
No, I don't. I just remember he had some shit nobody else did. Definitely a different style he was the original Garden Gnome.
Garden. No. And
The
here's-
second skateboard demo I ever went to was Mike Weed and Steve Ship came to Earth and Surfing,
Yeah, that was fun.
part of the Hobie team.
no, I'm
Tell
trying
me
to.
about who's in this picture we got up here on that screen. Tell me, where is that and who's in it?
David Adams and holding up the skateboard. David Adams there. That's Bruce in the middle, and that's me in the green helmet. That's in the Dunedin skate park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, right. Is that the opening? I was there for the opening. That was good.
No, I don't.
That might have been an afternoon session.
Well, it's got a fence in the background, so it wasn't before it opened, but we all did skate it before it opened.
There was also a swimming pool in St. Pete, kind of down near Earth and Surfing.
Dunlop's pool.
Yeah,
Was it
and
done
that attracted quite a bit of people from the region skating, and we skated at some, but there were a lot better skaters than us skating at that pool.
Would that be
And
Chris Moriarty?
Yeah, Chris skated there. Dave's mom would clean the pool every year, and one year we saw his David's little sister was riding a big wheel, and so we started riding a big wheel in the pool. Yeah, that was fun as shit. And then someone showed up with a skateboard, and after that we were riding GNS Fiberflex in a big ass pool. It was gnarly. It was fun. It was the first real testing ground for pool riding.
Well, that's cool. Moriarty always impressed me. He was far ahead of us, and
much older.
Yeah, he was. The first time I saw it, the first contest I went to was in St. Pete. It was behind the old pier.
Yeah.
It was at the end. It was 76, 75.
Like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kelly Lynn, right?
Yeah,
Kelly Lynn was there.
They had this big ramp that went straight down, and it was to get speed, and then cones. So Moriarty is pushing down the ramp. I can't even navigate the transition from the ramp to the asphalt. So I just wound up dorking around in Central Ave for a little while. But that was the first time I saw the St. Pete crew until the Green Helmet Gang would come to Clearwater.
What do you call it? Bruce has the banner for that.
Yeah, I've got an original poster from that contest. Michael gave it to me.
Wow. That was a while ago.
Yeah. Chris dug it out just recently, and I traded with Bruce and got myself a Griggly board.
Ooh, wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, put another picture up. Let's chit chat about it.
Oh, let me see if I can find pictures. I'm so busy trying to get people on the computer that I kind of spaced out what I was doing.
When all the skate parks shut down, it literally seemed like there was just a handful of people skating, and we used to like to get 7-Eleven and get Slurpees, or we were going back and forth between people's house, and one day we're like, look, there's a kid on a skateboard, and just somebody skating at that time like really stood out, and it was Tom Nicholson. He's like, yeah, I'm from Michigan, and I got a board. I want to say it had Bones wheels on it, maybe.
That was the first board I had was a cab with an Indies and gyro wheels.
That's right.
They were horrible to ride anything but pool. Yeah.
Is this Bill?
And we
Actually, I met you guys.
Monty
I met you
Nolder.
guys at the aquarium place that Griggly worked at.
DC's.
That was the first time.
About that.
Yeah, DC, the Aquarium Discount Center. So I was in there, and I'm like 12, so I'm an annoying piece of little shit, and I'm like bugging John, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got a skateboard. He's kind of like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, nah, I got a Caballero, and he's like, oh, you really have a skateboard? And he lied and told me that you guys could only skate the ramp on the weekends. And I was like, all right, yeah. And so I think I'm there like the second day or something, and Cleo comes in, all, Cleo loud and, just talking. And I'm like, and they just like, John goes from being like kind of dead behind the counter to like, you guys are all talking about whatever your graphics teacher was at Gibbs, right?
Yep.
And
Mr. Greenfield.
Yeah, you're talking about, yeah. And then Bruce rolls in, and like Bruce at that point was the coolest looking dude I'd ever seen in my life, like in real life. Like he was like 6'5", 118 pounds maybe. Big white, like shocking white hair.
Hair bastard.
Had a Santa Cruz shirt on, had Bermuda shorts on, had like socks pulled up to his knees, and like high top Converse. And I had never seen anyone in real life that looked like that. And I was like, holy shit. And I remember Griggly's like, oh, this is Tom, he skates and stuff. And Bruce just does it goes right back to talking. Like doesn't nod, doesn't like look an eye out. Right back to talking. And I'm like, damn. So, and I was annoying, so I get it, but it was fucking funny. And But yeah, and then I remember going to the ramp, and it was like it seemed like it was 20 feet tall because I was 12 and like 5 foot tall. It's funny.
Good shit.
The ramp.
I don't remember who shot this picture, Bruce.
We had we would skate, and then we would build on the ramp, and there were a lot of real estate signs or acquired wood,
PVC coping.
Then we'd run up to 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, and then we did what's called cracking.
All night long.
It doesn't.
And then we go
all day
back to working. And every weekend, or maybe, every couple of weeks on a weekend, we'd get a visitor, a random visitor. I mean, one time,
like 7 of us usually.
And skated. And at that time, we had ramps that had wood on the ground connecting to other ramps. And you could hold on to the tree while you were waiting to drop in. And Mike McGill came and rode that. There were so few places to skate.
That's true.
I can remember, I think George isn't on, but I remember a carload of guys came from Clearwater. I think it was probably George, probably Pat Parker, Dave Adams, maybe Fish. Seemed like there was 4 or 5 of them. And I remember they pulled up behind the ramp. They got out. Someone fakied on it once or twice. They got back in the car and left. And, you spoiled city boys with your smooth skate parks,
Oh.
Hey, I'm
They were literally there like 5 minutes.
I was in Gainesville. By the time that
Did Chuck shoot this picture of you, Bruce?
What's that?
Did Chuck shoot this?
Guy Steve Robitussin that came over all the time.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how things evolved. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, my history was that I started in St. Pete. I don't remember when I got my first skate. I mean, I don't remember when I first started skating, but I remember when I got my first skateboard. And it was like this orange Hawaiian thing, like Hawaiian print surfboard shaped thing from Kmart. And the wheels in the back were wider than the wheels in the front, like a dragster. Not sure what purpose that served, but it was rad. It was mine. And around the same time, I moved from St. Pete and went and moved in with my dad, who lived in, of all places, Leisure Hills, Florida. At the time, it was completely undeveloped, but it was all brand new paved roads. So it had like these little gentle sloping hills, and you could just roll around forever up there. I was there for a while, and then I moved to Lodi, Florida, which was, when I was there, had a population of 260 people. And the house my mom rented that we lived in, behind it, the guy owned like a general store and all kinds of businesses, were 2 awnings that came off of some kind of business. But they were like these perfect quarter circles, probably not a quarter circle because it didn't go to vert, but these perfect sloping arcs. They were like 8 feet wide, orange fiberglass, kind of like the Kona ramp. There are 2 of them. And me and this kid named Bruce Massey put them together, screwed them at the bottom and propped them up with 2x4s and made like this makeshift half pipe thing. And I don't have any photos of it. Bruce Massey might. I know he kept skating. I know he skated with Monty a little bit and John McGuigan. They went up, he built a ramp and they went up and skated it in Lodi. But it was pretty wild. And, we even built like a roll-in platform and like nailed a plywood extension on it. And it was crazy that, it came together like that. And from there, I moved back to St. Pete and was just skating around by myself. And I think Cleo happened to like skate down the road, like Walter said, like, hey, there's somebody on a skateboard. And like, we realized we went to elementary school together. And that's when I kind of started the whole kind of the whole real St. Pete journey began, because I got my first real skateboard, which was a PC tail tap that I got at Earth and Surf and Skate Park. And I used to start going there with Cleo and Craig Brim.
Wait, you got to tell us about the bonsai trucks. Your first
Bruce,
skate.
Met you. I want to
walk where you had bonsai
trucks. I remember you showing me your board. You had bonsai trucks.
That was probably something I had before I got like the PC board.
I thought they just made bonsai boards. I didn't even know they had trucks.
No, they made completes. They made like the double kicktail metal board with bonsai trucks
Weapon.
and bonsai wheels.
Weapon.
Weapon, yeah.
After you grind your tail for a little bit, you fucking get stitches if it bumped you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
But that
all right.
was-
So you just found each other and you'd see a skateboarder and you would just
Attack them.
grab it. Yeah. You get it. You get it too. You know,
Yeah.
so then Grigley's became default. Did his parents have a big yard? Why was it there?
yeah, let me
No.
tell you, that yard was
You
really
got a picture of Grigley's ramp? Can we throw that up?
The yard
you
was
have
as
to
big as the
realize-
ramp.
What you
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
realize is the final ramp actually extended about 2.5 feet out into the actual alleyway of the alley that went between the houses.
And
So,
this
yeah,
picture got up right now. You see those lights behind Bruce? That was over a part of the ramp.
Yeah, nighttime lighting.
Yeah, nighttime lighting.
Yeah.
If you look down, you see a little round head.
Yeah,
That's
remember
mine, watching him do an alley oop.
Let me move this thing out of the way.
Almost right under his knee. But yeah,
I remember that picture.
Yeah.
So that was when we strung the cable across from corner to corner, and we had the lights out there that we could like change out.
Did those
I
come
think
from
Schmitt came up
supply?
with that.
Did Drew Crapo bring that stuff over?
No, he
More
brought
than
over
likely.
wood and
The
paint,
yellow paint.
Paint.
traffic.
Yeah. The
So
paint
just-
that they stole the paint from the fucking guy painting the lines on the road.
Hey, that was donated. Just like all the wood that was on that ramp. They left
Yeah.
it there for us
That's
to
correct.
pick up.
That was the only lead
They
ramp
left it-
in
They
town.
left it there for us to pick up.
Oh my
All
god!
that was.
Hey,
Right.
Bill, is Bill still there? Bill
Yeah.
Procco, Bill Procco slid down and got a splinter in his back, and I guess it was
Oh,
about
yeah.
a month or so later. He's sitting in class, and someone like got it out, and it was like 8 inches long, and had been in his back for over a month.
No, it was, dude, it was a year later. And I was in chemistry. I was in chemistry class, and my back was itching for days. And I'm like, God, what? Itching back there in chemistry, and all of a sudden I feel this hard little bump, and I pull out this long. It's all sterilized now because it was in my back for. It was super long, and it had a little bit of like yellowish. I'm like, that's the St. Pete ramp. It was in there that long.
A good souvenir.
He was carrying a piece with him.
Oddly, the same color as a double yellow stripe on a highway.
Absolutely.
So you could skate at night, the reflective ramp.
Yeah, he had the DNA evidence on him the whole time.
Lead
Well,
poisoning.
At some point, Schmitt started coming over, and then he kind of took on John Grigley's ramp as like the main place to go.
Yeah, but I mean,
And
a lot happened before then. I mean, we got into the skate parks, and honestly, Mike Daly and Matt Davies are the people that made me want to skate because I saw them skate at Earth and Surf, and I just thought, the guys were my heroes growing up, absolutely. And I'm lucky I got to skate with both of them, and I can still skate with both of them if I ever get my lazy ass out of the house. But sort of the reason St. Pete ramp grew was actually the failure of the skate parks because we were nomadic. We were at Earth and Surfing, and we knew Michael and Matt from there, and that closed. We went to the next nearest park, which was Rolling Waves, and that's where, Jim Leno was at Rolling Waves, and Lonnie Ritter and John Middleton, and Michael was there a lot, along with Ray and Wayne Dehan. And so more people kind of got into that group. And then when that failed, we went to Clearwater, and that's really when we met Bill, was at Clearwater SkatePark. And there was Bill and Gary Parvin, who they called Egg Bowl, and Mark Buston, Tom Neihart, Steve Robitussin. Those guys kind of all got involved. So we started building this little collective of people that all started coming down to the St. Pete ramp, even though it was still crappy at that point. It got, kind of more and more momentum behind it. And then eventually Paul got involved, and, I think we did a lot for Paul by giving him a home base where, he could operate from, and, plenty of test pilots. And he did a lot for us because none of us really knew anything about carpentry. We just kind of went, wing it. Tom and I once built a ramp with a stick and a nail. That's a true story.
The first nacho ramp was cut with a nail. The transitions were.
Paul knew about carpentry, how to build tools, and he made our ramp better.
Nobody ever helped Paul. He did it by himself.
We had the fiberglass too on the lips.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Remember, he made he took the 2x4 and made a fiberglass coping out of it.
Right.
Tried to for a little bit, and all they did was like put splinters in your hands.
We were trying to go from broomstick coping. We even had square concrete blocks up there at one time on a quarter pipe. We had PVC that was broken with its own death box in it, and then we also had Schmitt make the coping with the fiberglass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he had steel on the other side.
That backside here.
With that.
And one really cool thing was none of the neighbors ever complained.
Not at all. We could be out there till midnight.
Over 10 years.
It was a tough neighborhood.
It's the same with Bruce. Like we had New Year's Eve parties at the nacho ramp. Went on to like 4 o'clock in the morning. People shooting guns in the air. Cops never showed up. Never once came by. There were like 400 people in that backyard, all around the neighborhood. Never saw anyone.
Bruce, talk about the Beastie Boys coming to the ramp.
No, they did not.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
With Fishbone.
When they were
in Murphy's Law.
After we built the nacho ramp, that's a big transition from Paul to that. But when we built the nacho ramp, a lot of people used to come around, and when the Beasties were on their first tour, they were with Fishbone and Murphy's Law, and I guess they got to town early because Murphy's Law and Fishbone, they hung out for like two and a half days, and they just got drunk a lot and fell down a lot. And then we got invited to the show, and then MCA and some other folks from that crew came back to the ramp after the show and hung out. And then eventually,
you had a hard time ditching fans. Remember?
Yeah,
We got cars were chasing you.
Sign a baseball bat.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, but we were driving down 34th Street South, and a car with 4 very large brothers in it was tailing us and wouldn't get off us, so we stopped, and they all got out with baseball bats, and I'm like, oh damn. And they ran up to the car, the baseball bats, stuck them in the windows, like, can you sign it for me?
And I'm in the back seat with MCA and Mike Diamond, and they're like, "Come on, Ad Rock, sign the bat." And I look at the two guys, and I'm like, they're like, "Sign the bat." So I signed it, Mike D. And signed it. I'm like, because I just kind of gave a sideways look to MCA, and he's like, I'm like, okay. That's
awesome. That's scary. So 30 is a big.
We also did some road tripping. Once there was a bunch of cement pipes down in South Pasadena, and we'd go down there and skate in those. They weren't real big ones, and if we found out about any kind of ramp or anything going on, we'd go. And then that really elevated when Schmitt showed up, because we would go to Brandon or go to the skate expo.
Well, he had a vehicle.
He had a van. That was it.
None of us had cars or money. Somebody asked me one time, why don't you guys have more photos from back then? Because none of us had a camera. It's that simple.
I am shocked that we have as many photos as we have. I don't remember Chuck Holtz having a camera all the time, but he's got more pictures than anybody. And the only one I remember having a camera was Rob, the red-haired guy.
Oh yeah, Rob Stewart.
Rob Stewart.
Yeah, he's the only one I remember having a camera ever. Like the rest of us, we were too poor to develop film. Come on.
We just went skateboarding.
Yeah.
I've got maybe 10 seconds of me skating in a video, and it's been film converted to VHS and then digitized. And then 3 skateboard moves. That's all I have of video.
I've got a little bit of video that Cleo shot at the Nacho ramp, and a little bit of video that Will Godfrey shot at the Berg Bowl.
Did you send me video, Cleo? Did I not give you my email?
I think I have your email. I was trying to find stuff on my computer.
Okay.
Drives.
That's okay. We're just looking. Now, this is the ramp in the trees, Bruce. This is
the Berg Bowl?
Justin.
Yeah, it's Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're like 12 feet high in the tree.
No, that's on the ground.
This one's on the ground?
Yeah, that's on the ground. That was in Mastery's
but he didn't have,
backyard.
there were trees that came up to the platform.
It was
all the way around.
wild looking.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking of. It just wasn't that high. You were probably 8 feet up, and the ramp was a foot and a half off the ground.
I'm still drinking, too.
Ooh.
Who do we got? I don't know how much room.
GBM's in.
GBM in
George.
the house.
Hey, George.
What's up? I'm trying to figure out if I can make everybody on the screen at one time. But there's George.
Hey, George, I was telling a story about the St. Pete ramp when a bunch of guys from Clearwater, I think it was you, Dave Adams, maybe Fish, probably Pat Parker, you guys all pulled up in the alleyway. I want to say it was in a Bug or some kind of a small car. You got out, posed a little bit. One of you took like 3 fakies on the ramp. You got back in your car and left.
The fuck out of there. Oh my God.
That's when the ramp went. I mean, that's when the ramp was really gnarly. It went north and south. It was only about 8 feet high. It was old warped plywood and real estate signs nailed over the holes. Yeah, there it is. That's Walter, isn't it?
That
Awesome.
That could have happened. Ay. Sorry, man.
No, it's okay. We were just covering the history of like how Matt Davies, who still skates, was the original seed for the St. Pete ramp, because his ramp, he had a ramp and John's sister bought it for him, and they put it in John's backyard. And that was right around the time the Earth and Surfing closed. And that's when we all started skating there. And that just, it kind of became a bit of a monstrosity. You can see that picture that Walter has. The lips were kind of like at 30-degree opposing angles because we didn't know about using levels or anything back then. And that just kind of grew and grew. And Cleo was right. We had Earth and Surfing's old quarter pipe used to be next to that half pipe. And we laid sheets of door skins on the ground to build a takeoff ramp. And you go down the takeoff ramp over the door skins and hit the quarter pipe.
Tell them about the time that we got fresh door skins and we still hadn't learned a lot about physics yet. And Schmitt said he's going to be the first to ride it.
Oh, no.
He fell through the ramp.
He went through the transition.
Ooh, stress test.
He had a ramp around the chest.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I mean, but it was, Chuck Holtz, had a few years back had his Holtz blog or whatever you want to call it. And he says great things, man. Chuck's really insightful. And he was talking about the St. Pete ramp. And if you can read that blog, I'm sure it's still out there somewhere. He said it was something from nothing. And I don't think anything more accurate's ever been said, because we had nothing. And, we kind of built this whole scene. There was music. Artists came out of there. Musicians came out of there. Pro skaters came out of there. And, a lot of people made a lot of great lifetime friends in this backyard in St. Pete through a mutually collaborative effort.
So Daly told me a story. Daly told me a story once about breakdancers going on there. There was breakdancing happening.
Cleo and Sneed.
Walter and Joey were breaking too on there.
Yeah. Walter, Sneed, all you guys at the Cowboy winning dance contest.
We hit all different phases of things. And, another one was we built skateboards ourselves starting around 8, and I bought like some water ski wood, and at Gibbs High School, where we all went to school, they had a press, and I was able to put it in there, and we put Formica on them, and we were riding those things around, because we couldn't really afford to buy boards, and the bigger boards had come out, and we wanted a bigger board, so the only answer was to build one. But they'd only last like about a week or two at that time. But Bruce Whiteside was our go-to graphics guy for all the different companies we created over the years.
So that's your graphic there.
I had forgot about those early boards you made.
That's Bruce.
I've got a picture of John riding one somewhere. He's like doing a transfer from the half pipe onto the quarter pipe onto the half pipe. And it's one of the boards you made for us.
Who's who in this picture?
It's got red wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like
somewhere.
Bruce is about ready to break into Come On Eileen over here with Dexy's Midnight Runners.
He was
That was the 301 ramp. Steve
that was the
Michael.
John Dent.
New Gold Dream.
Hey,
Yeah,
here's a bit of trivia. See Michael? See the kid to his left with the green bandana looking right at you?
Yeah.
That's the guy that hit Geraldo Rivera in the nose with a chair.
Nah.
If you remember, yeah.
That is some trivia. That's some trivia.
He was this kind of like scrawny little hanger out kid that everyone called Pee Wee. I mean, he was nice enough, but he was just like this little kid that hung around. He became like the leader of the Aryan Nation or something like that.
Oh my God.
Just totally messed up. He tried to reach out to me on Facebook about 5 years ago. And I just told him, I said, hey, I just really don't want to know you.
That's a good. I remember that kid.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What's it say here? What's it say? West Coast
Connection. They that was a $50 gift certificate to the skate shop.
The big money back then.
Dang, that was serious Skrilla back then.
Well, I think
that was first place.
Yeah.
I think the first St. Pete contest, when all the pros were here, the top prize was $300.
It might have
Yeah,
been
yeah. They all came, like,
won 150.
everybody was there.
150.
150. It won. I think Tony Hawk won $150 or something.
Hey,
Pretty much.
I actually went to Mad Beach Surf Shop with like Tony Hawk and Neil Blender because they had like a $50 gift card, and the people at Mad Beach Surf Shop, were like, "Hey, this is Tony." They had no idea who they were, but it's just kind of funny looking back at that.
Yeah, all those guys were there hoping to win $150.
Well, I mean,
now look at it.
What were the skate shops? What were the skate shops you guys to? Suncoast?
Was Suncoast
Van.
around?
We didn't really have any. Paul's Van.
There was
Became like a mini distributor.
There was a point for about 2 years. I don't think there was any skate shops.
There was Paul Schmitt.
Skateboarder magazine.
Kind of worried
when I
that
moved,
we wouldn't be
when I
able
moved
to.
down, there was nothing.
Paul Schmitt gave us everything we needed.
Yeah, I mean, and there was
Absolutely.
over in Tampa, there was Magic Skate,
Yeah.
which is in Tampa, and we used to go there sometimes. But after the parks closed, luckily Paul had become a distributor himself that time, and he put his hands on anything that we needed pretty much.
And you get sponsored by the rest of them.
Galaxy
Yeah, I mean-
in Orlando, wasn't that? Didn't that start up about that time? I know Galaxy's been around for effing ever, but no, Galactic G. Yeah.
I don't
Way
know.
too far away.
That's a long way to go for a pair of trackers.
So you're talking about that long way away. So when we were in Clearwater riding concrete, and then those guys went down there. I was in Gainesville. It was not my fault that they left in 5 minutes. But riding those ramps. But when did you go? You had Rainbow Wave for a while, and then that went away. Skate Wave was gnarly. That was
it was kind of a weird situation because I know that John and I and Cleo and Walter had skated together for a long time, and we really didn't travel. We didn't go to other parks and stuff because, like I said, we didn't have a car. That's basically why. And everyone was a lot better, I think, than we thought we were at the time. Because you see people in magazines and go, "Oh man, wow!" But when you actually get exposed to more stuff, you're like, "Well, yeah, I can do that. I've always done that," and And so I kind of feel like it was an island almost, in the sense that we were just kind of secluded from everything. And then by force, when the parks did start closing down, we were forced to find ways to travel out further, like I said, and it did bring more people in that group that became kind of the St. Pete group, but also exposed us to other people and other styles of skating and helped expand our skating as well.
But one of the things about traveling and actually seeing some of these pros and seeing people skate is you realize, especially basing your understanding of skateboarding, basing it on the magazines, we didn't, and we've talked about this in earlier episodes, but you didn't realize that 60% of those shots in Skateboarder magazine were bails.
Yeah.
And I'll take the fucking Pepsi challenge with any of these guys to call me out on it, and they won't. It's like, how the fuck is he doing that? And you're like, oh, now I know. And you go see him. It was eye-opening the first time I went out to California, see all these things. Oh, he's not making that. What the hell? Then you start looking at foot positioning and hands and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that never happened. So
Dunlop didn't really fly out at 3/4 on the full pipe on a 7-inch board with cryptos.
No, that didn't happen. So, but it's interesting because travel then educates you, it brings you up, and you're learning so much. And then, so you got your crew, but then now your crew just got huge, just got bigger. And and
Ed was talking about Rainbow, and I mean, that's kind of the circle we went in. We were earth and surfing, and then we were kind of our ramp, and then earth and surfing closed, and we got to Rainbow. I got to Rolling Waves, and Brian was always super cool to us. And then Rolling Waves closed, and we went to Clearwater. And I remember John and I used to catch a bus in St. Pete, ride the bus to Gulfport. From Gulfport, we'd go to Tyrone. From Tyrone, we'd go to Seminole. From Seminole, we go to Clearwater Mall, then catch another bus over to the park. It literally took us like 2.5 hours to get to the park. And then by that time, you're like so exhausted from riding the bus, you didn't want to ride. But
you have to go pay to skateboard. What a fucking riot.
And then when Clearwater finally closed, we went over to Rainbow, and our exposure to Rainbow at that time, I think Rainbow was kind of like dwindling by the time we got there. Kit and Linda were only there for a while. Then those two hippie guys owned it, if you remember them. It was like they were both stoners. Remember those guys, Cleo?
I remember.
I know Bill remembers them.
I love.
Oh yeah. They didn't mow the lawn. They didn't do anything. They just.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was an auction like every few months. We were just like, oh no, this is it.
And then when
room finish on some of the concrete.
And when Rainbow closed, we finally, started venturing up to Sensation. And I think the first time we went up there was we all piled in Mark Buston's big yellow van and headed up to Sensation. And that's like the first time we met that group up there. I remember the first time I met McGuigan, he was like walking around the catwalk, spouting off some unfavorable things about Todd Webb's girlfriend that he had seen the night before in one local bar. But,
hey, Bruce,
sounds just like McGuigan.
I got to know this. Okay, we'll get back to McGuigan because he's legend, and he'll have his time because he'll demand it. But you're down in St. Pete. You're in the sinkhole of skating. You're
the
grabbing.
Sinkhole?
Yeah, well, you didn't go out. You never traveled out of it, right? You stayed there for whatever geography.
Yeah.
Fed off each other. You were able to skate, launch John Grigley out of a ramp that was, you had to know where the stud was, on this one or that one. And I just want to know this. You heard about Sensation Basin. When you turned off 441 and you came across the railroad tracks and you saw the third wall, what did you think?
Holy crap.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, my thoughts about the Basin were I was super disappointed with the pool bowl because I was thinking it was more like a pool. And remind you, we're half pipers at this time.
Not a coffee cup.
We're half pipers at this time, right. So we're used to like the back and forth with the symmetrical on both sides. So it became super difficult for me because you had to like really elongated carve on the no coping side and kind of straight up on the coping side to maintain any speed. But I loved the snake run because it was just a huge half pipe with bumps in the middle.
Yeah.
You know?
The pom poms.
It was intimidating, but it was fun to ride.
That trough, I loved watching that. I watched Rodney Mullen rip that thing one day.
Do a full invert out of that thing. I saw him do a fully extended invert out of that drop.
He went and hid when his sisters or parents, somebody said they're coming, and he ran in the pro shop, took his gear off. But that was a rad time. I love that. Just the way it felt when you hit just on the first wall, just the vert on the first wall was just staggering, and the weightlessness you felt. And then you would come to the other sides. I didn't have time really to think that I was up high or anything because you were in and out so fast. You know, and it was done. You know, I think I had 4 tricks in there, and that was it. I was out.
That first was
it was fast.
More than the third wall. It was more like 5 feet of vert. It was bad.
What about the second wall? Monty Nolder, the only guy that rode it.
Oh, so, I rode the shit out of that thing, and I never get any credit for that. Fuckers.
So what Monty might have done was any sort of trick on there.
Backside air.
That's fine.
Backside 50-50.
That's how Jeff Phillips did it.
Mason did a rock and roll on it.
Inverts on that. Inverts and rock and rolls. But
on the second wall?
On the second wall, yep. You could come around from the third wall. You did a big carve on the third wall and came around, and it would set you up. But then you were fucked when you got out of it. So you would end your run on that. That would be your last trick of the contest.
The fact that you got there at all. I don't think I ever even wrote it.
I learned it just because I had to. And I was like, oh, we've got to do something. I got to do something, to use this whole park. But judges never recognized it.
No.
Anyway, yes, I agree. Underutilized wall.
So that's a great picture, John.
I never saw that before. That's when we had pool coping.
He doesn't have a broken wrist. That's one of the few shots without a cast on.
And look at that little thing. No wonder it breaks.
With those little Sims wheels, the B52s. That's like Sims B52s.
Christian.
169s. The Hosoi board, 169s.
That was after he got off a tractor, isn't it? Or was that before he got on tractor? I can't remember.
That was before he got on tractor. He got on tractor afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was doing those right into the channel.
Fucking gnarly.
That's
beautiful.
Home ramp. That's the way to. That's crazy. You don't do that.
We actually bought that pool coping, which, considering the rest of the ramp was donated, we had to put a little bit of money into the pool coping.
It's interesting what skaters will spend money on.
Yeah.
Clear water.
John, Bill, I got to thank you for the pictures because I was scrambling to find them, and these are so epic. The best thing that I love about this picture.
I got from the bulletin board at Clearwater when they closed. I pulled them off. They just up there with thumbtacks. I'm like,
nice. Look how exciting it is.
There's
Clyde Rogers.
Yeah,
Bruce.
There's McCrannles. There's GBM, Steve Fisher, Bob Shoemaker. There's a flight board on the bottom there, but that's me in the middle with the yellow shirt. Me and Fish are there. Pretty sure
Norcons.
And the Norcons and the fucking the gnarly vans. The vans.
Is that an alpha board or flight board?
I think that's a flight.
That's a flight.
From here. Yeah,
that's flight. Yeah,
that's a flight.
So who's this? Rainbow Wave?
Looks like Sean.
Brent was on flight for a minute.
Is that Mike McGill?
No.
Is that somebody in front of that guy?
They were rocking the pizza deck.
Oh yeah.
I guess we all were back then.
This is Pat Love.
Oh, there's Tim Hubbard. That's Tim Hubbard now.
Oh
gosh.
Tim Hubbard's a scrawny little thing back then.
You had a walker skater up here. I don't know who this was. This is when what Alba and Hackett came.
Shogo.
Oh, Shogo.
This may be the year before. Not sure.
I just love all the like carnage on the picture and the patina. And this is Jimmy, right?
Oh, there's Jimmy. Yeah, look at that. And that could be Muriel, the back of Muriel's head there coming down the stairs.
I think the funniest thing about Jimmy, I said, how come we never hung out or nothing? He goes, dude, I was 7. I was like, oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
It didn't stop Ray Diaz.
Ray was hysterical. Ray wanted to do coke, so I sent him up a big line of salt. He goes, it's burning.
Damn. That's uncalled for.
Trying to help the kid.
He was 13.
Well, he shouldn't be doing coke.
He retired from skateboarding at 14. He went from Rainbow Wave at 12 years old to staying with Steve Alba at almost 14 and ripping for Kryptonics.
So how old was he when he was with Crystal?
13.
13. That was 13. Yeah.
Makeout session in the hammock.
Yeah, he's
that's 301 ramp.
So I don't even know. So 301 has got to be
301 was Sarasota. John Dent's dad was a lawyer, and he owned all this property in a really, really, really bad section of town. So you drive through the really bad section of town, and then you'd park your car someplace at the end of a road, and you'd have to walk down to it. I always drove my car through the woods and got to it because it was a bad section of town.
Yeah,
and they didn't like us.
Wait a second, you're coming from South St. Pete. Let's not talk about bad sections.
That was our neighborhood, though.
Yeah. Talking about that, my car broke down there in Child's Park, and I was walking, and then there was a kid came walking next to me, and then 2 kids, then 4 kids, then 6 kids, and I was like, holy shit, I'm getting ready to get pounded. And what do you call it? They go, where you going, man? I'm going to Bruce's. And they go, oh, you know Bruce? Yeah.
That was it. That's all you had to say, man.
But that was a bad day. At 301, we had these guys come up, and they were trying to fight, and we got up to the top of the ramp, and they were coming up. They were big kids, and what do you call it? Somebody pulled a gun on them, and they left. And I told everybody, you need to get out of here.
Yep.
And
can I guess who somebody was? Does he look like Santa Claus now?
A good Samaritan. So we took off, and they came back with shotguns, and they destroyed things. It was a bad. Well, my car was left there, and they destroyed my car.
I remember that. They stomped the roof down into the body cavity.
Yeah, the stomped the roof until it broke my steering wheel off.
Didn't you unload your gun into the engine after that?
No, that was the ramp. I wrote my name in the ramp.
Okay.
I try to remember when Bruce first built the nacho ramp.
You wrote your name in the ramp with your gun?
No, with the bullets.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
That makes sense.
Connect the dots. It's me.
So you chased guys away with a gun, and then you left your car there and left.
I had to. My car was broke down, and we had to go because I knew the shit was going to go down, and it did go down.
So that was the end of the ramp.
No, they just trashed my car mostly. Broke the steering wheel off, jumping on the hood. Filled my gas tank up with sand. Jumped on the back, and there was some fiberglass work my mom did on the car, and they went through, and so there was blood all over the trunk.
Oh shit!
It was a bad scene, man.
What kind of car was it, Mike?
A scamp.
It was a compact car.
The scamp, baby. Chick magnet.
Yeah.
I remember the 301 ramp. Last time
It was a car, right?
Ramp.
Right.
I had
So did it stay there?
Yeah, I left it there. I just took my tag, or the tag was gone. I took my VIN number off. I ripped that off, and I never saw the car again. That was
awesome.
it.
Burial at 301.
All the tires.
Did you guys ever skate that Sarasota surfer drone?
Surfer drone.
Oh,
Hell yeah. Bruce
Surfer
Hansel.
drone.
Yeah, Bruce Hansel was the park pro down there.
I won a contest there, and they gave me a wooden skateboard deck that I just hung on the wall because it was so horrible. But who was that? John Hudson or some? Who was a kid local from down there? There was some kid that was pretty decent. I can't remember his name.
Fort Myers.
I don't remember anyone from Surfer Drone that there was some surfers from down there. Like I said, Bruce Hansel was from down there, and he was an actual surfer who went over and became part of the Pipeline Underground. But that was I know many skaters down there. I remember we went down there a couple of times and did some contests down there and did pretty well. So we got one of our famous photos in front of the silver van, with everyone with their trophies. Like, yay.
So Bruce, what happened? So where are we? We're around the mid 80s. I don't know if I've got pictures there. I have very few pictures. We will find more. Please send us more. But okay, we're with Nacho, we're at Grigley, well,
what happened is that, we had John's ramp, and we went through the process of rotating the ramp, and Paul helped us rebuild the whole thing, and it got huge, and we had a few pro contests. And at that point, there was like one summer when, we all skated, and we weren't, John was better than most of us, but he wasn't that much better. He was kind of better. And then there was like one summer when I walked away for a couple minutes because I was hanging out with girls and drinking beer.
Yeah.
And I came back and was like, oh, wow, John goes 7 feet high on everything now. And, John can do every trick in the world if your hand is on the ramp now. I'm like, when did all this happen over the course, like the last 3 months? And I mean, I don't know if other people notice it, but to me, maybe I wasn't paying attention, but he took this huge leap. And that's when he got on Sims. And, shortly after that, at that time, I was working at the Schmitt factory with Chuck. And when I say factory, I mean garage stall on Bullard Parkway.
Rail duty.
Me and Chuck, one of my favorite memories there is that it would be so cold in the mornings, we would go buy boiled peanuts just so we could hold onto the bag and make our hands warm so we could spread the epoxy on the boards. But so mid 80s, that's when everybody went west. Chuck and John and Tom and Paul, they kind of uprooted, and Paul sold out to Brad and became his kind of crew chief out there and worked out his 5-year no compete. So we were kind of left here with no ramp, and it got real quiet for a while, So we built the Nacho ramp in my backyard, which came in 3 evolutions. One was like a little 4-foot high thing, and then there was a little bit bigger one, which I think Walter was on TV skating on the news one day. And then finally, we just decided, let's go all in and build something different. So we built a 20-foot wide elliptical ramp, and everyone was building. That was like the original one. That's wild, Cleo. I've never seen that. So we built a 20-foot wide elliptical ramp, and everybody was building elliptical ramps at that time, but they were building them backwards, I thought, because they were putting like the fast part of the transition at the bottom and then making it slower at the top. So you got this big boost, but then you mellowed out at the top. And it didn't make sense to me. And I was in a thrift store one day, and I saw one of those like old 70s string art things, like where they nail nails into a piece of wood.
Yeah. I used to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that works, doesn't it? And so what we did was we laid out the transition as 9.5 feet on the base and 7 feet on the top. So it was a little quicker on the top than the bottom. And then we spaced out equidistant spaces vertically and horizontally. So 100 spaces vertically, 100 horizontally. And we connected them line to line like those strings and made like this perfect elliptical arch. And we cut those out and made the ramp. And what it turned out to be was a small ramp that rode like a big ramp. because you had all this extra transition at the bottom. You didn't need as much flat bottom. You kept your speed up really great. And at the top, it had a little bit of a kick, so it would pop you out into the air. And and I, you know, I'm not saying it because it's my ramp. I think everyone who ever skated it thought, wow, this is really different. And it was a great deal of fun. And, you know, just like the St. Pete ramp kind of had its crew of people, the Nacho ramp kind of launched a lot of people skating as well. You know, like Lance Conklin, for one, who became pro for Powell, used to skate there all the time. Lance was kind of like a protege of Cleo's and would come around. And then there was like a whole new kind of, I won't say generation, but a whole new family of skaters. Like there was the North Siders. Like, what's that?
Tully.
Yeah, Tully and Tate.
North Siders. You had like the completely awesome Tully Carlton and Ed Conti and those guys. And then the Southsiders, you had like Jason Kraft and Bill Bush and Jason Herring. And those guys kind of like came from the North and the South and all kind of converged at the Nacho ramp. And that was like a great scene for probably a good 5 years. And that kind of became the hub for St. Pete skating, probably from 84
Bruce.
to 89, somewhere in that area. Yeah.
Bruce, can I ride your ramp?
I don't know. You know, I think
Can I ride your ramp? No. Why not? Not your ramp.
Not your ramp. That's right.
I think
I called that.
I remember.
I think
that.
Ed Conti is the one who came up with that name.
Who's that?
What's that?
I think Ed Conti named it.
That's
We
hysterical.
named it Nacho the first time. It was off that joke that we'd heard, and you and I used to make nachos when we got really drunk, coming back from like London Victory Club.
The London
We would make those ghetto nachos out of like taco shells. We'd crush them, and then we'd just throw on like whatever you had in the fridge and a ton of like chili powder.
Cover it with chili powder and
just
bake
like,
it.
Yeah, you got to cover it with chili powder and cheese. That's it. That makes nachos.
Might have some old green beans on there, some scrambled eggs, whatever was in the refrigerator.
Whatever was in the cupboard, man.
Bruce had ramps from, I want to say, before Grigley to after the St. Pete ramp. And we simultaneously skated at Bruce. He initially had a quarter pipe in his street.
That's
and
right.
if John Grigley was sleeping or something, we'd go over to Bruce's and skate that quarter pipe in the street until he built the half pipe. And then another thing about Bruce is, you know, it was Hotel Whiteside over there. Everyone that visited the St. Pete ramp stayed at Bruce's house. A couple people moved in over the
His mom was really nice, you know. They let us
McGuigan lived there for a while.
cook fish out back,
Todd Webb.
play loud music.
Todd Webb.
May he rest.
I think they come to my house after your mom finally got tired of it.
Silent record shop runs.
He had a raptor fish in that aquarium, remember? It would eat anything going by.
I remember Bill sticking his head in that aquarium. Do you mind if I look at your fish and just putting his whole head inside the aquarium?
Who did that?
Bill Procco. Remember he asked your mom if he could look at the fish? Dunked his whole head in there?
Yeah, it was crazy for a while. I mean, I was thinking today about those days, and like one of the most absurd things I can remember is those of you who know the British skater Billy Smith. Do you know him, George?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was walking around my house naked with his business tucked between his legs, chasing Balkum, saying, "Chris, I'm not really a man."
That sounds exactly what both of them would do.
Mark the tape, Phil.
He was ahead of his time, huh?
Yeah. How my mom put up with
be a
this,
highlight.
I will never know.
I'm not really a man.
Billy Smith was a wild man.
The funniest joke ever told at my house was, of course, it was all these, macho young skaters talking about who they had slept with and who they hadn't slept with. And Buck was there, and he had to have been all of 12. He looked dead at McGuigan. He's like, I had sex with John, but he doesn't know it yet.
So McGuigan, the straight hard edge, what was it? He's smoking a Jarum?
Cloves.
Yeah, he smoked his clothes. Smoked his clothes. Kick back and smoke his clothes.
Yeah, John's good people.
I could totally hear Buck saying that.
It was hilarious.
You just don't know it yet.
Bruce said Beauregard. Was Beauregard at your house for a while?
No, he stayed there because everyone stayed there. And I have a story about Billy. First time I ever met Billy, they showed up at the St. Pete ramp. Probably one of the final versions when it went north and south instead of east and west. They got there almost at dark at twilight. No warm up, nothing. He dropped in from the alley side going toward the house and did a backside ollie over my head with his feet hanging off and made it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess he's as good as they say. Crazy good.
Homeboy had some skills, that's for sure.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is
I
he
remember-
out now, or is he back
Yes.
in? What-
Yeah, he's out.
I remember standing in the alley, and Fausto, from the owner of Independent Trucks, was there, and he sees Beauregard and Monty and Grigley skating, and he says to Schmitt, he's like, how the hell are these guys better than everyone from California? I've never even heard of them. Who are they?
Because they're Florida raised, that's why.
It's true. I remember going to California from St. Pete and I went to Del Mar, and I was just like, I'd seen all the Texas guys skate, so I was like, okay, know what they're going to be like. But I mean, obviously Tony Hawk ripped, but everybody else that I saw in the magazines that I thought was great had like 4 tricks, 4 or 5 good tricks. And I was like, man, these guys aren't really that good. Like, there was a handful of them, but everybody else that you thought was going to be killer wasn't. Like, I was like, Bruce on a good day could take any of these pros,
About that.
So it's funny, growing up with you guys, like, definitely different perspective. Like, you go out to places and be like, oh, okay. Like, you go to Jacksonville and you're like, shit, this is what you guys got? Like, this is like our 5th best guy.
No, yeah, in Jacksonville, you have Buck. Buck's incredible.
Oh, yeah. I was excluding Buck in that, from that, obviously.
Another guy, sadly he just passed, Todd Webb. He always shredded. I mean, it's probably been a few years since I've seen him, but even when I seen him a few years ago, people in the park are like, who is this guy? No, he
ripping the bowl at St. Pete Skateboarding.
Skated well.
You mentioned John Middleton's name earlier, and I always thought he was a shredder.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was.
Good style.
Yeah,
Original Rolling Waves team. Then went on to be that Sabotage, and then that orchestra thing, whatever it's called, Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
My wife was a groupie. My first wife was a groupie for Sabotage.
I thought a lot of them
was in the band. I probably wouldn't have married her. But
Johnny Middlehole.
Yeah, so we went from skating in the street and at Fairmount Park Elementary School to kind of earth and surfing, and then I met John. First time I met John was at 7-Eleven, and this is probably 77 or 78, and he was doing wall rides on a palm tree, because palm trees have those flared roots at the bottom. He's like 4 foot high up this palm tree and launching off the side. And then we started. John and I became kind of good skate buddies, and we built the St. Pete ramp with everybody else included, with Walter and Bill and Mark Buston and Cleo and Mike and everybody else that came around. That went away around 84. We built the Nacho ramp. That became a scene for a good 4 or 5 years, launched people like Lance Conklin, Tully Carlton, and for the life of me, how somebody didn't pick Tully up and make him like a professional skateboarder and get behind him, I don't know, because that guy just absolutely killed everything he skated, whether it was street or vert or.
Tully never went anywhere. He didn't care about it. He just skated for fun. And
I'll share with you, I understand that, because I was never a contest skater. I think my entire life I skated 2 contests, and one of them I skated in bedroom slippers. And I used to have like this voice in the back of my head. It was like, oh, you don't skate contests because you're chicken to skate contests or whatever. But the reality of it is, as you get older, you start to realize who you are, and it just wasn't my thing. It just it's not that I don't get it. It's just not. It's not fun for me. You know, I'll watch a. I'd rather watch a practice session than watch a contest.
I think
more interesting things are going to happen.
Contests,
and I think Kelly was kind of the same way.
Contests bring the best out in people because they try harder.
Bruce fell and hit his head, and it was, now we know, older, being our age now, it was definitely a concussion.
We had amnesia for 2 days.
We just kept asking Bruce what happened, and he would ask us, and it was like a game. You remember that, Bruce?
No, I don't, because I had amnesia for 2 days.
You talking about when you went off the ramp?
Like I woke up at the dinner table.
Wasn't it a rock and roll you went off the side of the ramp on?
Yeah.
That was a scary thing, man.
I don't remember, so it was okay for me.
But I think the wind came out of you, because I remember hearing the wind go back in, and you woke up, and you said, "What happened?"
Wait a minute. So
you saw death?
He's laying there not breathing. Everybody's just looking at him.
Yeah, he went
probably making jokes.
Trying to run on the edge, and when he rocked in, he rolled off the ramp at the top of the half pipe. So he free fell to his back.
Yeah, you gotta admit it. When I fell, you were looking at me. You were posting Mr. Coney lines on me, weren't you?
No.
You had your best Mr. Coney stuff in your back pocket. And you were dropping all of it on me when I couldn't breathe.
I didn't bust out anything.
Somebody went in.
Is my dad. He's talking about my
was it Egg Bowl that fell into that cactus?
No,
that was some kid from down the street. He was just he wasn't a skater or anything. He just kind of showed up to watch.
Or something.
And there was about a 8-foot by 12-foot patch of prickly pear cactus.
This is not a patch.
And
this is an acre. This is 8 by 12.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's board shot off the ramp, and he jumped to get away from it, and then turned and leaped right into the cactus.
Oh,
and they actually they had to call paramedics. The guy was
we could hear him in there, but we couldn't see him
with cactus.
Shit! You could hear, but you couldn't see him.
We could hear.
That's
he was covered from his head, like all the way down. He had big, long things like sticking in his face, and
he looked like a porcupine.
So bad. Yeah, it was bad.
They had to dig him out of there and take him in. Oh my gosh!
And we had no heart. Like he just as soon as he was gone, started making fun of him.
So Ed's transitioning to the Bird Bowl now. So
what do we got going on here?
We the Nacho ramp kind of lasted probably to about 89, maybe early 90. And again, what a great time that was. I mean, it was a great time for skating. It was kind of the last gasp of transition skating in that area. And then I kind of moved out of that house around that time, and the ramp moved to Wayne Dehaan's house, but it never functioned the same. It didn't go back together right. And we skated a little bit, and then I still skated, but I kind of checked out of being involved because that was kind of the era of like really big pants and really small wheels. And it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And
we got
most of the people I skated with, were gone. And so I was out of it for a while, and I started skating again. I ended up, they built a skate park right by where I work, which was Central Skate Park, which was run by Jay Turner, who now owns Anchor Skate Supply down by St. Pete.
Was that the same as 688?
Yep, same as 688. So I started skating there a lot. And out back, there were these two really big spine ramps, and no one ever skated them. And I was standing at the counter one day, and Justin Mastery had started skating a little bit again too. Along with all the old people, Tully and Jeff Valina and a lot of other folks. Cleo was coming out, and so we kind of started getting another gathering of people again in the area. And I was standing at the counter one day, and I was like, Jay, what are you going to do with those spine ramps? And he's like, why, you want them? And I just jokingly said, yeah, I do. And I talked with Justin, and the original idea was that we were going to just move him to Justin's yard. And he was like, no, he's like, let's build a bowl. And I was like, I got no idea how to build a bowl. And Justin was like, it's okay, I'll figure it out. And that's the kind of guy Justin was. He was like super optimistic about everything and not afraid of any challenge, try to resolve any problem, just through his own logic and his own thinking. So over the course of about 3 months, myself, Matt Davies, Tully, Ed Conti, Justin, I don't know who else, went to work on taking the spine ramps apart. We took all the pieces apart, piece by piece, cleaned them all, trimmed them all, moved them to Justin's house, and we started building framework. And we ended up first building like a soap bar shape, and then that was plywood. Jay Turner gave us the ramp. He bought the coping, the metal coping for the ramp for us. When they talk about the Berg Bowl, I know obviously Justin gets a lot of credit. It was his yard. Justin and I kind of fronted all the money to build it. But Jay, he's the one that really deserves the most credit, because if he hadn't given us that ramp, we probably never would have done it. It never would have been like Matt's ramp was the seed for the St. Pete ramp. Jay giving us those spine ramps was really the seed to build the Berg Bowl. So what we ended up with after several iterations was kind of this pork chop shaped bowl with an extension and a taco on one end. We got skate light from Brian Schaefer over at Spot, and that built into a whole scene of itself. And along the way, Paul, who has been super generous to all the St. Pete guys for all these years, man, he's supported our habit above and beyond what would be reasonable by any sane human.
Absolutely.
He would just send me boxes of Black Label boards, and I would just hand them out to kids at the Berg Bowl, But
That's
Paul
good
made the first batch of Berg Bowl boards for us with the bottle cap. He made those, I think, an edition of 50, and we sold them for like $100 each to raise money to help pay for the ramp. And then they got kind of popular, so we made 2 more versions. There's like the bottle cap version, and then there was the Florida tourist version, and then there's like the dead fish version, which is really kind of.
I got that one, Series 3. I got that here.
Which, that's kind of like an ode to the whole scene. Justin was all about having a good time and fishing and skating. His loss was huge in the skate community here, and not the skate community, but the community at large. His family owns one of the oldest and most well-known bait and tackle shops, and one of the oldest and most well-known drinking holes in St. Pete. So, that was felt far and wide,
My sister was good friends with the older ones, the older part of the family.
Yeah.
So Steve, I think it was, but plenty of time spent down there. What is it? Saltwater Bar?
Masteries.
Masteries something, I thought. But anyway, that's
now there's a Masteries Brewing Company, but I don't know what the connection is.
Yeah.
I think it's
Masteries has been downtown since I think like the 1900s or something. It's passed through the family.
They got a white shirt on the behind the bar to show you what their shirts look like, and it's all yellow and stuff instead of white. And I was like, "Hey, we want to get that one." He goes, "That's all cigarette smoke."
Oh.
Yeah, but anyway, the Berg Bowl. I think Brian Schaefer held a jam there. We never really had a contest there, but that was around for probably a good 5 years. And when we built it, it was really the first, the only curved transition on the west coast of Florida. You had to drive all the way up to Ocala to ride the little Ocala Park and that bowl to find something round. This was before. We built it just before the resurgence of all the skate parks in Central Florida and down south of us. You could drive down to Northport. There was a park down there. I think there still is. But so building a bowl drew a lot of people. You were talking about Jimmy. Jimmy was kind of a local there. Monty was there for a long time. And it brought together really all those kids that skated the Nacho ramp again. Tully helped build it. Will Godfrey.
Kelly Lynn made a few
for
visits.
sure. What's that?
Kelly Lynn made a few visits.
Yeah, it was cool in the late 90s. We all, a bunch of us started skating again. and we would go down to Northport and go to Ocala and ride at the Berg Bowl, after falling away from it for a few years. Hey, well, I got you guys on here. One story I've never heard or
it's not true.
Talk about is the end of the St. Pete ramp. Like, what actually happened to the ramp? Who took it down?
I don't know. They gave it to somebody, and they
took it out on the beach. Right? They never did anything with it.
I know they cut it apart with chainsaws, and they left a huge mess in John's mom's backyard. And I spent probably 2 weeks after everybody had moved, just going over there, cleaning up the mess so she wouldn't have to deal with it.
Props.
I got one more thing. So about this same time, there was a ramp going on down in Clearwater, right? There was a similar half pipe happening.
Chuck.
I remember
the one that Dave Adams and them had.
Lakeview Drive.
Lakeview.
Chuck Dyer.
There and skated a few times, and there was also one on Indian Rocks Beach.
But was there cross population? Was there cross population? Is what I'm saying. It seems like there's a St. Pete crew. And I know there was a crew down in Clearwater, and there were some guys that were crushing down. That was back when
Tony Simotas was killing it.
Some of the other guys from
Tony was ripping back then.
And the Carrollwood ramp.
Yeah, the Dollhouse ramp in Carrollwood. That was
and then the one inside the roller skating rink.
Yeah, Mertz was crushing.
Yeah, Mertz was resident at the Dollhouse, and that all happened kind of after the St. Pete ramp.
Okay,
and I think that was late 80s, maybe early 90s.
I think that was early 90s because I was
89.
I got past all of that crap with the baggy pants and tiny wheels. I was in Europe when all of that was going on, so I didn't know what the fuck was happening.
Hey George, do you remember the Orange Grove ramp? I think you and I and Schmitt and Chuck went and rode it one day. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, I like the Orange Grove ramp. I was hanging out with Todd Webb quite a bit at that time, and we used to skate that thing all the time.
Wasn't it flat on the dirt? It didn't have I remember something funky about it, but yeah.
I don't remember that, but I remember Todd and I used to always just judge how high you could get over the armchair, because there's like a musty old armchair on the lip. Like I was 2 feet over the armchair. No, it's 1.5 feet over the armchair.
Yep.
You were talking about the baggy clothes.
Is this Carrollwood?
Yeah,
it might be.
It was here in Orange Grove, right?
Carrollwood, yeah. That whole area used to be Orange Groves at one point.
It's like
I remember you had to sign a waiver to skate it.
The guy's name was Doug, and everybody took that what do you call it? Sticker that said "Just say no to drugs" and change it to just say "Go to Doug's."
It wasn't Doug Mudd, was it?
I'm not. I don't even know it. I had the sticker.
I remember the Action Now stickers, so you could cut them up so it'd say "Now no action, in action now."
Here it is.
Frazier went here a lot.
Ooh.
They called it Action How.
That ramp also, Jeff Kendall came down and skated that ramp some.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw Frazier. He was killing it.
Kendall, Kendall coming in from Ohio.
Oh, Kendall.
Yeah, he was down here for a demo a couple times too, like some action sports out in.
What the fuck is that sequence on the left?
I'm not really sure.
Shit.
That's Procco doing layback here in Denver, or
layback to Denver over the channel. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I can't tell who that is.
Yep. Yeah, I started doing those at St. Pete.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, yeah, Vision. Okay, I see it.
Fuck.
That is it.
That's fucking gnarls.
In case you guys didn't know, Bill was pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. That's
really
skills.
And he built a skate park.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's legit on plywood. So gnarly.
Hey, Bill, do the Airbnb residents get to skate the ramp? He's frozen.
Yo, Phil is muted.
Say it.
Go ahead.
I said, do the Airbnb do the Airbnb clients get to skate the ramp?
Yeah, they actually do. I'm getting a lot.
I'm trying.
I redid the whole thing. So, yeah.
Oh wow, look at that picture. That's rad.
We're going over the channel.
Hey, Michael, we should rent Bill's Airbnb and go up there and skate.
I'd say follow what's that one guy? Go hunting on the property. It's very there's a lot to harvest.
Shoot a bar.
There's a hotel up by Lake Tahoe, Strawberry Lodge, that they used to have contests at every now and then. It's got a pool that's been dry for over a decade, and you can stay there. And if you want to skate the pool, it costs you like an extra $10 or something. It's hilarious.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty fun. It's a big old. It's a hotel, one of those big old hotel eggs.
I can't remember whether it was Walter or Bill years ago. Like now, you see the communities that have like the communal lagoon. You know what I'm talking about? So it's like 100 houses on it. I can't remember if it was Walter or Bill used to always talk about having houses like on a communal skate park. So like everyone's backyard was part of the skate park that linked together, and it was part of your property taxes.
I was
Is that you, Walt?
Yeah, I used to talk about instead of a golf course neighborhood, it would be a skate park neighborhood with like-minded people.
That's right.
I don't think I want skateboarders as my neighbors.
You have an age limit.
It's kind of funny. I got kids all
over 65 limit.
I got kids all up and down my street. I've probably got 4 skaters that are up and down my street, and they can see in my garage, and there's quivers and all kinds of shit on the walls and stuff. And every time I come home from an event, I'm like, "Hey guys, you want some wheels?" And they're like, "Yeah, those are 60 millimeter wheels. We don't ride."
Thanks, Granddad.
But they love it when I come home with bearings. I'll come home from any of these Hall of Fame events, and hey, you got to hand me, "Hey guys," and they're like, "Fuck yeah!" So, but never can get them to take any wheels.
Where's this ramp?
I've actually amassed a lot of
St.
boards.
Pete ramp.
I didn't set out to be a collector, and people ask me, like, "Do you collect boards?" Like, no, I have boards.
Yeah,
I'm
the same way.
I just have them. I didn't suit out to collect them. But hey, I remember me and Tom used to spread the rumor that Mike had 55-gallon drums of Schmitt equipment buried in his backyard.
I still believe that to be true. I still believe he has that at his mom's house.
Yeah.
I know. You rode the same board for 5 years riding for Schmitt. The exact same setup.
I know.
And we used to get like 5 boards in a box at that time.
Yeah, that was a good ride. That was a good run.
So Sam Meyer got vibed by Paul one time. He said, I need a new helmet. And Paul said, that one's fine. So in retort, he rode the same ProTech for 8 years. He just put stickers on it, and it was just the nastiest looking thing. Donnie said he wouldn't even touch it. So, Paul had an austerity program going on.
Paul was funny. After Sems, I was trying to figure out who I was going to ride with, and I was talking to Paul, and he was early in making boards and at the St. Pete ramp. I'm like, "Hey, Paul, can I ride for you?" And he's like, "You don't want to ride for me." And I was like, "Come on, man, get some boards or something." And he's holding out. And then Grigley goes, "Come on, man, just put him on the team." He's gonna ride for you. That was a great day. Paul definitely. First time I met him, it was at the skateboard park Rainbow Wave, and my truck broke. And this little kid with braces on and pizza in his teeth from 2 days
always
earlier.
has pizza in his teeth. Hot dogs. Yeah.
Or Easter candy.
He goes, "Can I change your truck for you?" I was like, "Yeah, go for it, man." I had no idea. First time I remember Paul was at one of the Clearwater contests of him like scrambling around the park with a paper bag with a bunch of homemade rails in it, trying to sell people rails for like $2 each, I think. You remember that, George?
Yep, I remember that. Well, he was in competition with Steve Fisher and his fish
sticks.
Yeah. The story about Paul's pig knuckle.
Well, we talked to Steve Marinac a little while ago, and he was talking about he was developing rails too. So it's almost like co-invention of tricks, development of equipment.
Phase where we would skateboard and then go out to the beach and go skimboarding. And Schmitt built a skimboard that looked like a spade. Do you remember that?
I do.
And he would go out on the beach and just strip down naked and change with no regard for anyone being around or anything.
Had no shame.
No shame at all. Remember, like we overflowed his toilet at his mom's place in Temple Terrace, and somebody did. And I remember him just sticking his hand in the toilet. There's like a bunch of shit in there. He's like, "Oh, what's no big deal?" And I'm like, I'm ready to throw up. I'm like, "Oh my god, that's gross." And he's like, "Well, it's just shit." And I'm like, "Oh."
He put his arm in up to his shoulder.
Yeah, he was all the way in there. I was like, "What are you doing?" Like,
Seems like he would have invented a plunger.
That's how afraid of his mom he was.
Oh, those messed up times.
Let's look at this picture on the deck here. Let's blow that up. See what we got in the background there. There's some boards on the deck. Oh, we got a Fox sticker there.
Oh, that's Paul and Bill.
Actually, that's my leg right there because I recognize those bobos I have on.
What the hell pads were those, Cleo? Okay.
Wait. Since we're on video, I got to apologize. We used to give Paul shit all the time about being large, right?
Yeah.
But look at him in the picture.
Yeah.
He's a normal sized human. The only reason we thought Paul was large is because we all looked like shrink wrap skeletons back then.
Oh shit!
We were all 6 foot tall, 102 pounds because
right.
We ate beef jerky and Slurpees and skated 20 hours a day. So I apologize to Paul.
We love you, Paul.
Paul was the shit.
That, and I apologize for trying to kill him with a hammer one time.
His truck breaks down.
Story.
Nobody helps him. He pulls his transmission on the side of the road, gets a ride in, comes back and puts his transmission. Say what?
God. Every time we went to Kona, that van broke down.
Yeah.
I think it was John and I went to Kona with Paul one time in a Volkswagen Bug that had no seats in it.
I was in that driver's seat. That was my first trip with you guys.
Yeah, he had a 5-gallon bucket that he sat on to drive it, and like about every 20 miles, he had to scoot the bucket back up because it would vibrate backwards from the bug running.
And we put like all of our skate bags on the back there, and sat like you guys sat in the back. I think I sat like under the dash. I was all small, so I like sat on the floor looking at you guys going down this. I think we went to Gainesville with that one.
That was to Kona, and then Mike Smith buried that vehicle past the floorboards in the sand.
Oh yeah!
Ooh. Check out Paul's Griggly shorts.
He's got
those are Griggly spray painted shorts.
He was early into art.
Oh yeah.
Good shit.
We would go to the skate expo in Orlando with Schmitt, and he's trying to do serious business deals, and we're running around like, "Give us stickers, give us this."
Trick or treaters.
Trick or treaters.
We were straight up feral children, just let loose on the public, taking anything we could get from people.
Waiting for the bikini contest.
Oh God!
Oh yeah.
The Reef Girls.
Oh God.
Reef, yeah. That was the goods.
Yeah.
Wait for that.
Emailing you stuff.
So I don't.
That's Clearwater, isn't it?
Mike was talking about riding for Paul, and I was trying to think of as we went into this. I thought about how much skating has changed, and like the first team I ever rode for, and as odd as it sounds, was Moto Build. Because I simply wrote them a letter.
Oh yeah!
I even sent a picture. I wrote them a letter, told them I was a good skater. Could I have some stuff? And they sent me a box full of trucks and some shirts and some stickers. It was that simple back then. Now you got to have like a professional video editor, to shoot your footage and edit it and send it into the the sponsors and to get sponsored is crazy.
They had like a weird shaped axle, right?
Yeah, it had like a hump on it. We're talking about Moto-Built trucks.
Moto-Built, yeah. They
was
had
my first sponsor ever. Well, actually, Brian was my first sponsor at Rolling Waves, and then Moto-Built.
Brian came up to me at Earth and Surfing, some fat hippie, and I'm like, he goes, "I'm building a skateboard park, and I want you to come help me design the walls." I was like, "Fucking get away from me, man! I'm skateboarding." And then,
I think Brian just sponsored me because my mom smoked pot with him.
my Moriarty gave me a ride over there. The fucker was building a park. I was like, "Damn, dude! All we wanted was a pass vertical wall. We want to ride the wave, man." Thank God he didn't put it in.
I remember Moriarty totally shred Earth and Surfing with flat spotted wheels. I mean, like flat spotted.
Back
Sound
when
like
we
a
did
car
360s in the bowl.
Did he skate with that guy Benegby?
That sounds familiar. I'm not sure.
It does.
He sells guitars downtown St. Pete now, the Benegby guy. I know he skated with Moriarty sometimes.
What happened to Moriarty?
Moriarty, I see him every once in a while. He's just a beach hound, just a regular beach guy. He got a bad knee and was unable to skate anymore.
Yeah,
his knee would drop out on him.
Yeah, last time I saw him, he was walking around with a cane. I'm like, dang, dude, you're not that old.
So he's still a girl shark. Like, we went out to dinner with his girlfriend, and I think he went home with the waitress. So he definitely has some issues.
Did you ever sneak?
Do you remember Jay Stone and Billy McRoberts?
Yeah, Billy McRoberts. He did the 54. It was 54th Avenue. His dad owned a bar, and we built a ramp behind that.
Yeah, his dad owned a pool building company.
Who did?
Billy McRoberts' dad owned a pool company too. Built pools.
Yeah, that was a ramp back around. That was way before St. Pete ramp. That was like before Urban Surfing even.
You know, because that's what I was trying to say is there were people there long before us.
Yeah,
I know
they built a death box on it, like just putting it. It was, I think, 16 feet wide, and they just put a 2x4 about 6 inches higher, like a beam, and people would try and cover the space. Got pictures getting one wheelers on the 2x4. It was our death box.
Did you ever see Jay Stone's ramp?
Yeah, Jay Stone was the shit.
That's the first ramp I ever rode. That was down in Gulfport behind Bogosiega.
Yeah,
and it's like the scariest looking thing I ever saw. It was like 6 feet on each side. Then like
I thought you were talking about someone else. Yeah, he had boards. That's what I was saying earlier. I skipped the 11th grade to go there.
Yeah,
it was so close to Bogey.
Yeah, is that a Berkeley board, Bill?
What?
In that picture, is that an Eric Gresham board? What is that?
Yeah, that's a Gresham.
Yeah.
Looks like a green McGill over there.
Yeah, that's a rainbow. I like that. Got the coping up. How they ever got that coping to stick is just amazing.
Well, the whole thing there was to try and hit it hard enough to break it off.
Remember that coping was like snot on ice.
Yeah.
I
had fun in that half pipe. I loved it.
With a little, kind of went up a little too high.
It was like a staple. It wasn't a half pipe. It was like a staple. It was like two flat walls with a little hump in the middle.
Yeah, it was not a half pipe. It was a weird U thing, but it just didn't go to vert. That was the worst part about it.
That coping was great for slide rolls.
That park was the shit when they built it. I liked it a lot.
I like this. I like the flow bowl. It was part of the cross country.
Oh yeah, that little bowl in the back. You guys think out of a video of that.
I would watch Daly do tricks. I would steal all of Daly's tricks in that because he always had new ones. I'd be like, hey, okay.
It was a great little practice spot.
Thanks, bro. It is bro, isn't it?
Yeah, dude.
Bruce, you didn't talk about the cross ramps.
Remember, Schmitt built extensions everywhere. He built extensions on the bowl and on the pipe.
And in the half pipe.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Do you have pictures of that?
Of which?
In storage somewhere. I remember that. I got one of the bowl.
I can't imagine that transition with any more vert on it, any more steep wall. God, that was just.
Earth and Surfing put that big wooden extension up. I seen Grigley's picture in it. And
I had that picture somewhere. Let me see.
The first contest, Chris West was going to do an elevator drop, and the park owner came running out and stopped him. No, it's not going to happen.
Hey, quick, was that you that John was standing behind that vert at Earth and Surfing, and he grabbed your back wheel?
Yeah.
No, that was what do you call it? That was a
trick fuck.
That was his name. Yeah, I think that was Rolling Waves.
That happened at
my wheels.
John was standing back there goofing around.
Ed, check your email, Ed. I'm sending you some stuff.
John just got his board.
That's uncool, man.
Stuff, Ed.
All right.
I hope I'm.
Hey guys, I gotta punch out. I've got to go eat some dinner.
Hey George, good seeing you again. This has been a fun little session here. Ed, you want to wrap this up and we do it again?
Yeah, I think what we'll have to do is, hey George, have a good night. Thanks for joining.
Good night, George.
Gentlemen, so great to see you all. This is freaking awesome.
Good seeing you, George.
Hearing about this, we need to get individuals with all of these guys, Edgar. Let's get it set up.
Roger that, sir. Thank you very much.
We got to grill Mr. Cooney here.
Yeah, there's stories. We got some fade stories to tell.
He's been oddly quiet. I know there's a lot going on down there. But good to see you, gents.
Have a good one, George. Thanks for joining. So, folks, thanks for joining us on the Skateboarding Bros Show. This has been a little bit of an insight into the St. Pete scene and Bruce Whiteside. We're excited about seeing all of you guys at the Skateboard Hall of Fame in St. Petersburg, Florida, April 15th. Thank you very much for joining us, and keep skating. Thank you.
Peace out.
You're watching the Skateboarding Bros Show. Stories from the pioneers of skateboarding about the history and the fun of the sport we love.